So I meant to do this story when the minute I saw it on the news yesterday, but I didn't read around to it at the time because I was running around. But I made it a mental note to actually do this story because I felt this was very important. Over in Missouri, and we're going to touch on the whole feelings about that and how I feel about what's going on. In Missouri, the NAACP chapter had decided to issue a travel ban telling African Americans to be careful coming into the state of Missouri. I mean, let's backtrack. Let's not forget what happened to Mike Brown, which happened right in Ferguson, Missouri. Happened right there. So the city the tensions have been high ever since. And that was just in Ferguson, a small town. Imagine now for the whole state. And now the NAACP now wants to issue a travel warning. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the whole article and then we're going to go into what I feel is right and wrong. So let's go ahead and get started on that. This is how it follows. It says, following the passage of a new Jim Crow bill, people of color and minorities may be unsafe. And this, by the way, comes from a site called thinkprogress.org, NAACP Warnings Minorities Missouri, in case you want to look for the article. But it reads, people of color and other minorities have been warned not to visit the state of Missouri after Republican Governor Eric Greitens signed a draconian bill into law that directly threatens minorities, advocates claim. In a sweeping advisory from June that began gaining traction on a national level last week, members of the NAACP voted to approve the travel warning, which was extended to people of color, women, and queer community. I'm going to touch on all that in a second. The NAACP advised that those groups that their civil rights may be violated by visiting the state. The organization also advised extreme caution to both travelers and minorities currently living in Missouri. Signed in June, SB, that's S as in Sam, B's and Boy, 43, requires workers claiming discrimination bias by employers to prove that bias was a clear reason for termination, something that is almost impossible to do. Employees are also blocked from suing the individuals responsible for any alleged bias. Only businesses themselves can be sued. SB 43 additionally removes whistleblower protections for Missouri state employees. Missouri NAACP President Nimrod Chapel Jr. has since called the measure a Jim Crow bill, an intentional nod to racial segregation. Activists argue SB 43 is a blatant attack on the rights of minorities who they are more likely to suffer incidents on basis in the workplace. Coupled with numerous incidents of police brutality, harassment, and discrimination, the bill has sparked alarm in a state where violence against people of color has made headlines. In August 2014, the murder of Black Ferguson resident Michael Brown by white police officer Darren Wilson sparked protests across the nation. The Black students at the University of Missouri have also been subjugated to racial slurs on numerous occasions, and the June report indicated that Black drivers at the state are 75% more likely to be pulled over than their white counterparts. SB 43 is simply the latest in a long line of troubling developments, advocates say. They are legalizing discrimination in the state of Missouri, Chapel said. While spokesperson for the NAACP said the warning was the first of its kind to be issued by the organization, similar advisories have been seen an uptick in the past few months. I'm not really good. Well, I'll read it anyway. In May, the American Civil Liberties Union issued a warning regarding travel in the state of Texas, where a hardline immigration bill, SB 4, is set to take effect in September, targeting sanctuary cities. The bill requires all police officers and authorities to comply with federal immigration demands. Failure to do so can result in stiff fines, arrest, and even removal from office. Drastic measures have alarmed advocates. I'm not going to read part of that because I want to concentrate on the main issues with the NAACP. So I'm not going to read about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Mexican government. That's not the issue at hand we're speaking of. But that's pretty much the whole article and what's going on. Now, there's some issues I have with this, and I'm going to go ahead and lay them out on the table, so to speak. Put the cards on the table, show the hand. First and foremost, the NAACP had it set up now that they decided to issue this travel warning. Now, what they're going to do now is they're going to now take it to the NAACP National Board for ratification in October. This is, like I said, I have a problem with NAACP. To me, I don't really think the group has really helped Black people at all. Some people might feel that way. I just have to be honest about it. First and foremost, all across America, African Americans at an alarming rate, which this has always been going on. I remember this happening in the 80s. But as far as police brutality and everything, it's gotten a lot worse. So I feel like the NAACP feels like they have to be they now have to get the ratification in October to issue these kind of warnings. These warnings should have been issued the minute things were happening, especially in the state of Missouri when Mike Brown got killed. So you're now taking taking 3 years now to get to this point since Mike Brown got killed in 2014. We're now taking 3 years to do this. This should have been stated immediately. Now, I guess kudos for them to mention about this SB bill, the SB43. Kudos for them, I guess. But, again, you're late to the party. And in times like this, especially with everything that's going on, you can't afford to be the late to the party kind of person. Not when lives are at stake. And that, to me, is one of the main issues. This should have been stated earlier. This should have been kept their foot to the neck, especially with Mike Brown. That should have been a warning to them enough already. So that's why I have an issue with the NAACP already. Now, with this, what I actually now going into with this SB 43 law, what it actually does with people in the workplace. You notice how I would say, and here was a key line here. You notice how I said they cannot sue the individual responsible, but only the actual business. Now, here's the problem with that. As you know, most business, the cost, there's a saying called the cost of doing business. And the cost of doing business, you always have lawyers in present. That's the cost of doing business. So you prepare for incidents. Like there's accident at the workplace, some kind of anything of that nature. The companies that have ways to protect themselves as they should, especially if it's a corporation or limited liability company or even a sole proprietor. But now they can't sue the business, they can only sue the individual. Now, if I was getting discriminated and I know the individual who did it, who was in a place of position in your company, you're responsible for hiring that person to begin with. So it's like this. You took the laurels with that employee that was discriminating other employees. You should take the blame as well as that individual employee. So now with this in effect, now they can only sue the business, which more likely now will not go anywhere because of, again, the cost of doing business. They're prepped for this whatsoever. And by suing the business entity, it's impossible to pinpoint who actually was the one responsible. It's sort of like with L.A. Reid. He got fired from Epic recently. For those who are into the music game and everybody, LaFace Records. He was running Epic Records till he actually got fired for sexual discrimination. I'm not gonna dwell too much time on it, but it actually took the woman who was being sexually harassed. She had to go above him to get the attention to let them know what's going on, to get him removed out of the building. So again, it's similar to that situation. So it makes it very difficult to get the individuals responsible. So the individuals responsible get to keep their job. Now you're going to sue the company, so more likely they're going to terminate you anyway because you're suing them. And now they got their ducks in a row. They pretty much got I guess you could say, proverbial centurion guard around them, and that would be a team of lawyers and advisors to handle the situation. So now it makes it likely to litigate them and actually win the case. And that's what's going on with SB4. But like I said, to me, for the fact that NAACP, again, I guess kudos to them saying about the SB43, I guess, and I say that reluctantly. After Mike Brown's murder, that should have been a high alert immediately. So just the fact that happened, that pissed me off to no end. I just don't feel like they have to wait till October to make this ratified. You got to wait till October to make it ratified. Just go in. They should be doing everything in their power. But again, the NAACP, which by the way, from my understanding, was actually started by a white man. So therefore, that could possibly mean it was already compromised from the get-go. It's pretty much a bunch of older generation people who run it and just want to be set in their ways, and they don't really want to try to fight everything that's going on. They just want to get along to get along. And that's one of the main issues I have with the organization as a whole. Like I said, we need a new generation, and I don't necessarily mean in the NAACP, but free thinkers, and that's why I love this new generation that's out now. I'm 39 years old, so me seeing this new generation now, I'm much more aware than they were coming up, and they understand the bullshit that's happening, and it's starting to make change. That's why you have outlets that are doing what they're supposed to do to bring awareness. Not only my age, but people even younger. You got Torian Rain out here doing things, Professor Black Truth, Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, and countless many others who I don't know. Oh, Mr. Superboy 223, and countless many others who are actually out here getting the word across and having media that's based in our interest alone. You can't expect the NAACP to get their back. The NAACP to get our back. You can't expect outlets like TV One, Roland Martin's fucking shucking and jiving ass for Hillary. You can't depend on them, Goldie Taylor, or any of these other media outlets as well. And this is what, like I said, the NAACP is a group It's like the dinosaur. It's past its time, and we just need new blood, period. But those are my thoughts on this matter. Leave your likes, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, you thought I was finished? Hey, what can I say? So did I. Because as I just finished speaking about the Missouri travel warning, thanks to the SB43 law, right as I finished to get ready to edit, guess what pops up on my time feed? Pops up about the person responsible for SB43. And man, this one's a head crack. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the article right now, and then we're going to continue to speak on it. Okay, this comes from NBC News himself. Missouri law that prompted NAACP's travel advisory sponsored by a legislator who faces suit. And when y'all hear this story, this is going to be very interesting. And this should let you know exactly the game that Missouri is playing. A forthcoming Missouri law that made it harder to sue a business for race discrimination, which prompted the NAACP to issue a travel advisory for African Americans in the state, was sponsored by a lawmaker whose businesses is being sued for racial discrimination. This more stringent burden laid out in Senate Bill 43 alarmed the state's NAACP chapter so much that the group rallied to stop the governor from signing it and ultimately issued a travel advisory in June, its first ever in the nation, warning people of looming danger in Missouri. While the chapter's president, civil rights attorney Rod Chapel, wants the law to be repealed, he's also criticized how it even could pass in the first place, given that its sponsor, Republican Senator Gary Romaine's businesses is facing a discrimination lawsuit. Well, there you go right there. But let's keep going. I think there should be a full investigation, Chapel said Wednesday. And if it is an issue where he is helping himself in passing this legislation, I think it's important for the state Senate or the government as a whole to make a determination for whether this type of action is okay. Well, obviously they feel it's okay because they decided it into place. And I'm pretty sure some of these other lawmakers have business interests of their own. But I'll get to my thoughts about this in a moment. The law, however, doesn't take effect until August 28, which means the case against Romaine's businesses would not potentially benefit from it, although future ones could be affected. It's not a case it could, it will be affected. Either way, Chapel said it raises an ethical question. What he did acceptable? Of course not. In a statement Wednesday, Romaine reiterated that the change in law doesn't alter the way pending laws are judged. We deliberately did not make the bill retroactive, and the bill didn't include an emergency clause, he said. Any claim that the bill benefited my company in a pending case is simply not true. Romaine added that discrimination in the workplace is wrong and should be punished, but that employees have been unfairly punished and held liable even if discrimination didn't cause the adverse employment action. In an editorial in the Daily Journal published in February, Romaine wrote that he was frustrated, and these are key words here, was frustrated during his more than 25 years as entrepreneur over frivolous lawsuit and the right to sue letters, which indicate the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has determined that there are grounds for a discrimination claim. See, this is what, sorry to interject, but see, this is what I just stated earlier during this, what I stated earlier. That law definitely helps employers. That helps employees. Like I said, the cost of doing business. You constantly get sued. Obviously, he got tired of it and he wanted to do something about it, which he did. And that's a very dangerous precedent. But let's go on with the rest of the story. Romaine made no mention of a lawsuit filed against his southeastern Missouri chain Show Me Rent to Own, which provides rentals of household goods with no credit required. The Missouri's General Assembly Black Caucus earlier this year highlighted the suit, which St. Louis Public Radio reported was filed 2 years ago by former employee Tracy Ranson. So this happened back in 2015. Tracy Ranson, who is black, claims that his supervisor at the Sykeston's location used racial epithets against him and that the store kept a map in which majority black neighborhoods were circled with the words "Do not rent," according to reports. Ranson's attorney, Daniel McMichael, told St. Louis Public Radio in April that the suit was still pending and that it was unlikely to go to trial before the end of the year. He did not immediately return the call Wednesday for NBC News seeking comment. The state Senate passed SB 43 in March with a vote of 23-9, while the state's House passed it in May 98-30. Democrats have written letters threatening that they would not vote because of Romney's involvement. While troubling on its merits, the bill represents a severe abuse of power by a sitting senator Republican Joshua Peters wrote to the House leadership, the bill seeks to remove legal protections under which the sponsor of this bill is currently facing litigation. For that reason, even entertaining or participating in a vote on such legislation will make this entire body complicit in the senator's unethical act of corruption and a violation of our oath. Campaign for Accountability, a nonpartisan Washington, D.C. based watchdog group, on Wednesday echoed those concerns about legislators who pass laws that could benefit their bottom lines. Senator Romney should focus on serving his constituents and not his pocketbook, Executive Director Daniel Stevens wrote in an email. Is this sort of cynical self-dealing that undermines Americans' faith in government? In a statement, Missouri Attorney General Josh Hawley said, there is no place for racial discrimination in the state and pledge to do everything within my power to protect the innocent from those who would do harm and uphold the rule of law. Missouri Governor Eric Grishams, a Republican, signed SB43 on June 30th. The spokesman said he had no comment about the criticism that he had been lodged against Romney's involvement. In an earlier statement, Grishams said that while he met with passionate advocates on both sides of the bill, he's a believer in tort reform and the need to prevent trial lawyers from killing good jobs. Business group applauded SB 43 for what they will say will encourage more companies to want to set up shop in Missouri. And that there's your key there's your key sentence right there. Business as usual. But we're going to touch on that. But Chappell isn't convinced. He said Missouri is falling behind on ensuring resident civil rights and that the travel advisory was created as a symbolic gesture against cases of alleged discrimination involving police and the lack of diversity hiring on college campuses. He said he was also alarmed by the data released by the Missouri Attorney General's office in June that found black drivers were 75% more likely to be stopped than white drivers in the state. Law enforcement tactics have come under greater scrutiny in Missouri since racially biased policing was uncovered in Ferguson in the wake of teenager Michael Brown's death in 2014. Chappell said he's adamant that SB 43 is akin to outdated Jim Crow laws which mandated segregation. They have no place in Missouri, he added. You can't legalize individual discrimination, he said, and call it anything other than Jim Crow. That's the whole article. Now, it is amazing that this popped up just as I finished doing the piece earlier, but even though it's connected together, you wouldn't know it. But that's it. That just proved my point, what I was saying earlier about this law was set up for business owners to win in Missouri. Now, how ironic is it that its own senator, who has its own businesses, which, by the way, y'all should boycott right now, the people in Missouri, y'all should not even bother to go in there and do business with these chains whatsoever. You need to hurt his pockets. That's the bottom line. You need to hurt his pockets. Especially since he's going to circle like, do not rent this area, do not rent this area. Yeah, hurt his pockets. Let him know that this is to be taken seriously. And that's the best way for people to know. Hurt the law's pocket. And this is why it's important, why us as a people, we need to start getting our own caucus in office. You need to get people that we actually selected, not Democrats or Republicans say, oh, this is the person that be perfect to represent your interests. No. You as a people, especially in the state of Missouri, and not just Missouri, but all the states, you guys need to select who your leaders are. Not letting them select them for you, because no matter who they select, whether it's Republican, Democrat, even when you think you won, you still lose at the end. The game is rigged. And this right here, this article right here proves it. This is definitely crazy. Now, this saying that Missouri is falling behind on the times. No, Missouri hasn't fallen behind on the times of discrimination. They're still stuck in that era as far as I'm concerned, with killing of Michael Brown, and now this situation occurred. And the fact that this guy had frivolous lawsuits going on dating 25 years, which again I stated earlier is about the cost of doing business. He got tired of it and he wanted to actually make sure he could win. He set the game, rigged the game in his favor. Call it what you will. From a hustler standpoint, I can understand why he did it. But from a morality standpoint, it's total bullshit, and there's no other way to say it. But I can see, there's very dark. They say this is draconian as far as I'm concerned is a kind word. And then the fact the governor himself is the one who signed the bill, so he was in agreement, which tells me one of two things. One, he's probably going to get a piece of the pie, or maybe the governor himself has businesses in the state of Missouri himself. I'm not really sure. I have to research on that. But all signs seem to point to it, because why else would he sign something in the places like that to begin with? Because he wants to keep he stays on code. That's why, to keep that white supremacy structure on point, and that's exactly what it is. Like I said, everybody in the state of Missouri not only needs to not support that business, to this show me rent-to-own business, y'all should not even spend a dime there. Now, I'm really hoping that the people are going to take this to heart. I'm really hoping so. But I would not even go in there to even rent for somebody anyway. To rent for someone anyway. But that lets you know exactly what's going on. Verbatim. Now you know. And Missouri has been a really fucked up place for a very long time. And this is not evident. And I'm really more concerned is, are they going to do similar? They already have a similar law like this over in Texas. In Texas, as you know, it's a great place to make money. Unfortunately, with all the racism and cop police brutalities and killings going over there, can you survive to even see that money? Is a whole nother question. It's a whole nother story and topic in itself. But I keep thinking this precedent is now going to go to other states now. I can't help but think they're going to start trying to pull something like this now. And this is what we need to be aware. And that's why us as a people, we need to do whatever it takes to get the people we select in office that actually serve our interests, not to buck over and be controlled to be used as puppets with a hand in their ass. Like I said, but those are my thoughts on this whole topic, and I'll catch you on the next one.